the criminal justice system has got to sharpen up in every day, not just in a time of crisis. Because whilst we are very pleased to see the people who looted Shoe Zone or Greggs get arrested, and going to prison sometimes. We know that every day of the week, people are walking into shops and walking out with property. So I think people want good policing. They want a good criminal justice system, as well as the probation services and all those things. And all these things are hugely expensive. But I think public safety is one of the number one priorities for any government.
Only 30 arrests last night, despite fears that there would be 30 immigration centres targeted by the far right and as many as 100 gatherings. Instead, the largest number of protesters were anti-racist in what the Times is calling a day of defiance. So what happens next? And have Elon Musk and Tommy Robinson's tweets and those grim group chats on Telegram unearthed a far-right reality that needs addressing further? Andy Trotter is a former Chief Constable of the British Transport Police, a former Deputy Assistant Commissioner for the Metropolitan Police, and is now chair of the London Ambulance Service. Definitely one of the best people to speak to this morning. Good morning to you, Andy.
Good morning.
You must be very relieved about what didn't happen last night.
Yes, I think the planning, the deployment of thousands of police officers across the country. I think the swift criminal justice system, which has been really good to see. But above all, I think the incredible turnout of the counter demonstrators to show the best of, I was going to say Britain, the best of England and Northern Ireland, I think was really quite moving. But, this isn't over yet. We've got a hot weekend coming up. The things could still happen. And no doubt the police would be meeting with the Prime Minister today to discuss the next steps.
It's slightly difficult, I suppose, in the kind of modern, in 2024, because you want the police to get on and do their job, and they will know what is happening and what is not happening, what's being overstated and what might be being understated. However, when you have, Telegram, other social media networks, kind of second guessing, spreading rumours, etc., it's quite difficult because expectations then build up, don't they?
They do. I mean, and obviously the police and other agencies will be getting inside these various platforms, but the ability to organise quickly will remain a challenge, because just because the demonstrators were pretty much defeated last night doesn't mean that they won't try again somewhere else. They'll realise how stretched the authorities are, particularly in a time of crisis when we're not ready for this. So I think there's going to be obviously a lot more social media monitoring. I don't have much faith in the platforms policing themselves. I mean, in previous years when I had a role within the Association of Chief Police Officers of liaising with social media, couldn't get much change out of them on some quite serious crime matters. So I don't think they're going to be terribly cooperative, particularly those which are based abroad. So I think this is going to be a continuing anxiety. There'll be a lot to learn from this. And whilst we can be very pleased about last night, there's clearly a lot to look at about numbers of public order trained police officers, good intelligence, good community intelligence as well, and also around equipment and tactics. That's all in the short term. And in the longer term, I don't think this problem is going to go away. Unlike 2011, which was around a specific incident followed by some looting, and that then burnt out over a number of days. This one could run and run. And I think when you look at how thin the police are on the ground on ordinary every day, that there's a vulnerability to outbreaks of violence and disorder, which might well continue.
Do you think, what do you think that means in the short and the long term for numbers of police on the ground?
Well, I think I would say it, wouldn't I? I mean, someone who's worked in public sector for many years, that we do need more. I mean, as we need more in just every part of the public sector. But do
you think you might get more because of the effectiveness of this? It's actually proved something.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned from 7/7 and 2011, all those events, that you get lots of promises at times like this. Governments are very generous because, quite rightly, they're looking to the future. Got to make sure that this is sustained. I mean, this is at a time when public sector spending is under massive pressure. But when you look at the reductions in police since 2010, OK, we're getting back somewhere near the numbers, but times have changed so much now. And the public order officers are thin on the ground in times of crisis. So I think there's got to be a capability of responding much quicker to these events. The criminal justice system has got to sharpen up in every day, not just in a time of crisis. Because whilst we are very pleased to see the people who looted Shoe Zone or Greggs get arrested, and going to prison sometimes. We know that every day of the week people are walking into shops and walking out with property. So I think people want good policing, they want a good criminal justice system, as well as the probation services and all those things. And all these things are hugely expensive. But I think public safety is one of the #1 priorities for any government. And I'm sure they will be looking at this and reviewing a whole range of things as we go forward.
Just a word on the police officers themselves and the riot police as well. What kind of impact does this have on them? Because, quite a few of them have been injured.
Yes, I mean, we use this term riot police because we don't really have a riot police. They're just public order trained officers who normally will be working in your local area. They just have to be what we call level 2 trained. They'll be exhausted. They've been on the go for ages right now. They've been under huge pressure. Their everyday jobs are not being done. The crimes they've got to investigate, all the things they have to do with are not being done. We're in the height of the season when many would want to be on holiday with their families. So there's a huge pressure on them. And I think we need to look very closely at a whole range of issues. As I say, the numbers of them, the equipment they've got, how we look after them. Having a standing army of riot police, as other countries do, is not something we've ever done in this country. It's enormously expensive and it can be counterproductive. But I'm absolutely convinced we do need to look at this capability that we can raise a number of officers swiftly in the appropriate protective equipment to deploy, not just to these demonstrations, but the serious outbreaks of disorder which we get across the country. And I think people will be quite shocked to know how few officers are on duty in their areas on the ordinary everyday nights of the week when they're facing violence. And so I think this is an absolutely proper opportunity to review all of those matters.
Okay, Andy, it's very interesting to talk to you. It's Andy Trotter, who's now chair of the London Ambulance Service, but has also, former Chief Constable at the British Transport Police and former Deputy Assistant Commissioner for the Metropolitan Police.
Such a good way of thinking about it, isn't it? That if someone goes into Shoe Zone and nicks 12 pairs of shoes next week, they won't even be arrested. And they do it in a riot and they get arrested, prosecuted, convicted in prison. And there is an obvious point here, which I'll make, because I've just thought I should have thought of it before. But if you have an efficient society, efficient system generally, there's less cause to riot, isn't it? If you have a system that processes immigration properly, if you have a system that cracks down on illegal behaviour properly, there's less room and need to riot. And maybe that's the main symptom of all of this, that this is what brought us here.